Okay, so now we've created our backup task. We see that we have the ability now to go ahead and set our schedules. So here we could set it for intervals every 10 minutes. And we can hit apply for that backup task. If we go back up to backup tasks, you see that we have both of these backup jobs. And we can even start it off immediately. So if you don't want to wait for the 10 minutes, you could start the process. Now to verify that your backup is functioning, what you can do is go to Status, Tasks, and here you'll see the task where we have started backup 1. And you can see that it is running and functional. So for this backup task, you'll see that the number of files were 34. And the backup size was 25 gig. Now what's happening is it's updating continuously. So here you see tape 1 is being used. 25 meg was total backup size. So we can be able to restore our files. But let's take a look back into the backup function and the task. And you can verify it as well, that it stopped and started. And then let's look at our tape. So you can see that very little is being used right here in tape 1. You have 25 megs that was backed up, and we have plenty of space. So over a period of time, you can see how this is very valuable. Now if we go to restore, and we wanted to restore that backup job to, let's say, to a specific share. So in this case, let's create a task. So we're going to look for one of our backup jobs. We did backup 1. The device was automatically selected for dynamic 00. That's from our USB drive. And here we could just put anything of asterisk and search for it. And we see a backup capabilities that's allowing us to restore from our backup jobs. We can create a restore task name, restore 1. And now we can restore to a specific share. So here we're going to I create a share called restore. And we're going to run this immediately right after we apply the task. So now on the left you see that we have restore 1. And we'll verify that in the restore directory, it's immediately starting. And here we have our task running. Because right after we selected, we wanted to start the restore process immediately. And here you can see that it's creating the date and the time. And now we have restored our files from our backup task that we've completed. So there's a lot of things that you can see that the backup functionality not only saves you cost of utilizing, let's say if you wanted to use the existing RAID array, or if you want to use an existing logical volume to save yourself on tape libraries, because it can be very costly, or you could use an iSCSI or fiber channel target, or even to USB drives, and you can have many USB drives connected to the system. B drives that are 2 terabytes today make it very good option to think about, as well as to be able to utilize the DSS V6 target or fiber channel options as well for the built-in initiators that we have with DSS V6. So we're getting close to wrapping it up on the end here. We do want to point out that, again, you want to make sure that you always keep up to date. We do have the latest releases. Another release is coming out mid this month, so please be aware of it. There is an unlimited version that we have. Anytime you purchase a DSS V6 that totals up to 48 terabytes, it becomes an unlimited version, such as what you see here. One of the things I want to take you to before we complete our final ending of the webinar is I want to take you back to the OpenE website. The reason being is that there's a lot of information located in our libraries tab. If you check here, you'll see that there's a lot of white papers, the knowledge bases, but most of importantly is the how-to resources. Here, again, I cannot preface how well documented the documents are for some of the processes that we went over in the webinar for backup, such as the tape library. You click on any of these and they're downloadable, so you can use these for future references or to send your customers. And immediately you come up with a lot of details and information that helps you to configure your backup and set it up, and then walks you through the process. So each process is laid out for your benefit and ease of use. So please be able to access that. I also would like to point out that we have an advanced search engine here. If you were to look for something of anything of, let's just say backup, and you would need to search, our search engine is designed to look at the knowledge base articles first and then progress into the forums. Here we have a knowledge base article, backup and restore. So we've spent a lot of time on providing this information and being able to give you the relative information for your how-to resources and backups. That takes us back to the beginning of our opening webinar. I have a list of questions that are coming up, so I'd like to address them, and then we'll end the webinar session. One question comes from Jack. Jack asked, is there ability to restore just the files? Currently, we will have this feature, Jack. What Jack's asking, can we restore single files instead of the shares? We will have this capability in future releases, and hopefully we'll have it this year. Here's one from Andy. Andy asked, is it possible, or what is your recommendation? You mentioned before that the RAID controller was the best. What about just another RAID array to create it? Yes, that'll work. Jack, what you want to do is, if you're going to do that, use the, let's say, create another RAID 5, if you're a controller, or if you have enough slots on your system, to be able to create another RAID array. Either, I preferably don't want to use a RAID 0. It's better to use either something that RAID 5 or RAID 6 or even a RAID 10 if you can afford the capacity and the drives. So this will be better for you to do backups. It's faster and performance-wise. Here's another question. It's coming from Marty. Marty asks, you mentioned about the replication to be used. Would that be something that could you replicate and then back up from the iSCSI target? Currently, we're not able to back up iSCSI or block-based volumes, such as the fiber channel volumes or the iSCSI. We're only able to use the backup functionality for the NAS volumes. Though there is a way to work around on that. You could take, let's say, a NAS share and also an iSCSI, and from a NAS share, you would log on from your target. So your initiator would log on to the target, and then you can create a share called, restore. Then copy your data over to the share that you've created from your iSCSI target and back up that share. So you can avoid purchasing another license, let's say for Backup Exec or another backup server. And there's plenty of, I think, a RoboCopy and a few others that are free for, let's say, for Microsoft, or even rsync for, I think, in Linux that you can use. That you can take that iSCSI target that you're using, your data's on there, and copy it over to, let's say, a NAS share called, let's say, restore. Then you can go ahead and use the backup built-in functionality. Another question is, when you do the replications, could you use, let's say, 10 gig E? Actually, that's a real good idea. If you are, let's say, you create an iSCSI target that you're using for your backup tape device, and you use the replication, so you want to make sure that, let's say, if you have a short window, a backup window, and you're backing up, let's say, terabytes of data, a 10 gig E NIC would be an advisable thing to do, that you would want to connect this and the other two systems that are replicating using 10 gig E, and that'll improve your backup window time. There was a question, looks like Andrew is asking, what tape libraries do you support? Currently, anything that has what's called tape streamers, pretty much all of them are supported. What I recommend is make sure that a lot of the Tanburns, the Sonys, LTO3s, LTO4s, we support all of them. It's just hard for us to be able to get all of those into our labs to test, but pretty much it's very rare that we haven't run into a tape library device that does not work. I recommend if you're going to use the barcoding, that to make sure that the barcoding has the capabilities for your device. Usually 9 out of 10 times we find that either the firmware needs to be updated and so forth. Because when you use the barcoding, you want to be able to do the scan and the bar scanning capabilities. You also have tape scanning capabilities. So what this does is be able to perform some fast barcodes. You're able to see it. And then also the physical label read of all tapes. So you probably want to perform this when you do your tape when you do your tape library, is perform a tape scan. And then of course you're able to do things of rewind and erase tapes. It's quite simple. It's not complicated, as you can see, and there's a lot of functionality for it. You can also remove tapes and so forth. There was another question from Kyle. Kyle's asking concerning snapshots. Can you use the same snapshot for multiple things? Let's say you want to do a snapshot of something else. Actually, no. You can, but it's not recommended. So what's Kyle asking is the backup task that we've created here. So if we go to maintenance and then back up into our tasks, that we have the snapshot that is assigned for that. Now, if that snapshot is being currently used for the backup, you typically you're not going to be wanting to run another snapshot schedule of something else with that snapshot volume. You really want to solely dedicate it for that backup task. Now, if that backup task is, let's say, completed, and you're not going to have another backup for another 24 hours, but you only need to use the snapshot, let's say, for another purpose, snapshot in itself, or you're using a data replication. So with the data replication, it uses snapshot. If you're using it for, let's say, a one-time instance, or you know your schedules, you know that your backup job is always at a certain time, and it completes at a certain time, then go ahead and use that snapshot volume. But usually space is inexpensive, and it's just relatively simple to make a snapshot, and you can have many snapshots. Currently, you can have 20 snapshots actively running at the same time per system. There are capabilities where you can do more, but we recommend a set value of up to 20. The last question is, could you bond, this is coming from Nathan. Nathan's asking, could you bond the Knicks and then use the auto failover with replication? Yes, you can. You could use a balance RR. Usually with the replications, you want to dedicate a NIC for replications. We have a lot of documentation on that. Again, it goes back into right here on our website in libraries. If you're looking to how to set up the replications, you can go right into the how-to resources, and then here you'll see the OpenE replications.